Hey, what's up, guys? Whenever I ordered this engine, I posted it on the groups. Had a lot of guys that were asking questions, on what the engine was and questions about the wiring and everything. And I had a lot of questions myself whenever I had ordered the engine, and I really wanted to be able to order everything that I needed at the same time. That way, I'd have everything there when I got started on the swap. So I done a lot of research and I found a lot of good information, and that came from the CT70 Modders group, the Icebear group, and probably one of the best resources that I found was Bowling Built on YouTube. He covers a lot of stuff, a lot of good information, a lot of cool videos. So be sure to go on there and subscribe to him. But there was a few things that I wasn't able to find, and I've made a list and kind of wanted to go over the swap, what all was involved in it, what you got to do. So we'll get started. The first thing, I guess, would be the wiring, and I actually tried it both ways with the stock Icebear wiring. And I think one of the admins from the Icebear group was who gave me this information, and this comes from the Bartmoto website. And what it's going to be is from your Icebear harness, you're going to go from white to yellow on the ZS, from Icebear green and white to the light green and red, and that's going to be your neutral wire. I'll go over that in a minute. Your yellow to yellow, black and white to green, red and white to blue and white, red and yellow to black and red. And on the Zongshen side, the yellow is going to be going directly to your regulator. Like I said, the green and red wire, that's going to be for your neutral light. The green is ground to the stator. Your blue and white is your signal wire going to your CDI. Black and red is going to be your power coming from your stator, and that goes directly to the CDI. So that will cover the stock harness. If you just cut the plug off or change it or whatever and wire directly from your stator on your ZX, which also works for a YX, like Piranha 140s or whatever. But what I ended up doing after I done that, I really wasn't happy with it because I didn't want to switch housings and all that. I used the harness that came with the engine, and it's going to be plug and play for what comes with the engine. But I used my harness that came on the bike, and believe it or not, the wiring is all the same. So that's, you do have to change the plug, but you just match color for color, and that takes care of that. The only other thing that I had to do was for my lights. There's a plug there's one long black wire. That's going to be your key 12-volt power. That'll have your lights come on and off with your ignition. I did have an issue. The plug for the CDI appeared to be wired for like a Lonson setup, which it's different than the YX or the ZS. And I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if it'll zoom in. This is what you need. Yeah, I'm on selfie mode, so that's backward. But you can find that information, or I don't know, hopefully you can read backwards. But anyway, that's really not that big of a deal, especially if you use your stock harness. You don't have to worry about it. If you use the stock harness, I've discovered that you have to use the regulator that come on the Icebear. You can use the coil that, for the 125, it works fine. You do have to change the CDI. The CDI is wired different, so you do have to change that. Everything else, your starter solenoid and all that stuff is the same. I did change out the wire that goes from the solenoid to the starter just because it had the right terminals on it. But that covers the wiring, and it's really that easy if you use your stock harness. The major problem that I ran into is actually bolting the engine up, which is one I didn't expect, because the CT70 guys say that these engines just bolt right up on them. Well, that's not the case on an Icebear. Let me take the camera off of here and I'll see if I can, and I'll show you. Right here on your top engine mount, you can see here, there should be a brace that goes across. You have to cut that completely out, like all the way. This right here, the whole bottom of that has to be cut off. So if you're doing this swap, come right above the above that cross member, just right above it, cut it off. Go ahead and cut it off, because it won't work until you do. I trimmed and trimmed and trimmed, and it just there's no way. It's got to be cut off. I don't believe that'll be a problem. It seems to be mounted in there solid and all that, so I'm not too concerned about it. Let me get you put back here. Let me get my list. Okay, foot peg bracket. You can use the Icebear one. I wrecked this thing. I looped it out on a wheelie right before I done this, and I bent mine. But it appeared to me that you had a little more room for the pegs to be a little higher, so I ended up building my own. I cut all the brackets and everything off my Icebear one, and I just used some 5/8 round bar stock and bent up to get my pegs up as high as I could. The jetting on the carb, right now I'm using the 28mm carb that comes with the engine. I haven't touched the jetting, I haven't touched the mixture screw. I just bolted the carb on, and that was it. I've not touched it, and it's not perfect, but it does pretty good. It's got just a little bit of hesitation when you crack the throttle real quick, but whatever. I think I showed most of you guys before, but I've got this PWK Ken 28mm that I'm going to be putting on it. I just got the cable in today. Still waiting on the air filter. So that's everything for the actual doing the swap. I wrote down a list of some of the things that you'll need, which is one of the major problems that I had. Like I said, I wanted to order everything at one time, have it all here waiting when I got into the swap, and I just wasn't able to do that. I just couldn't seem to find what I needed. So the things that's going to be needed is just a universal dirt bike throttle, and this is actually, if you're going to do the way that I did, use the universal harness that comes with the engine. If you're going to keep your harness, you can use the factory Icebear throttle. I don't know where these throttle cables, these universal like pit bike throttle cables, will thread into that throttle housing, so that's not a concern. You do need to get one that's got the 90-degree bend on it, but you can use all that. You just need to get a throttle cable. You will need a clutch cable. The clutch cable, the one that's on this one right now, is actually just a takeoff of a buddy of mine's Grom, and it works, but it is just barely long enough. So if you order a clutch cable, yeah, I mean, you can use one for a Grom, but now I found that about 44 inches with these Pro Taper XR50 bends, 44 inches is going to be about what you need. Back to the throttle cable. If you order a cable, this is what I ordered. This is from T-Bolt. That's the part number. I think they said the housing is 35 inches long. You do need to make sure and order a throttle cable that is for a 28mm carburetor, because the standard pit bike carburetor, or the throttle cables, the part that goes into the carburetor is not long enough, because these carburetors are considerably bigger. So just be sure and order one that is for the bigger carburetors, otherwise it won't work. The air filter, this was a big one. Couldn't find anywhere what size the carburetor was on these things. On the air filter side, you're going to need a 50mm inlet air filter. Just a regular, like a uni filter, K&N, whatever, pod filter will work as long as it don't have to have the bend on it or any of that, as long as it's not huge. But you do need, you know, a 50 millimeter inlet on the air filter. Sprockets, you can use any, it's a 17 millimeter, but like for a CRF 50, whatever, that's the size that you need. The stock one off the Icebear, it's the same size, it will work. And I've not tried this, but I was told that on the shifters, that a CRF 110 shifter will work. The kicker, these kickers on these things, this one appears to be a little smaller than the older ones, but the kicker, I was told that you can use one off of a KX60, works really good. And I've also seen where people are using the ones off of a YX140 or Piranha 140. I'm probably going to pull mine off because it's actually at the base of the Kickstarter. It sticks out pretty far. I don't care much for it. The exhaust, this one is the Bark Moto high pipe that's got the carbon print. It's not real carbon fiber. Not crazy about that, but the rest of the pipe I'm pretty happy with. This is one that had the baffle in the back side of the muffler here. That had to go. I rode it a few days ago with the baffle in, and it definitely restricts it. It's a little quieter, but yeah, I gained quite a bit on top speed by taking it out. To take it out, I used a hole saw that was 1 3/8 inches, and that gets rid of pretty much the entire baffle. That takes it all, like it just barely slides in, and you can saw it out. So that worked really well. I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head. The petcock, I guess was another thing. It worked good. I just hooked it right up the way that it was on the 125. It seems to be fine so far. I ran it today for a pretty good stretch. Got 77 miles an hour top speed. I didn't run out of fuel, so I assume that's going to be okay. I don't think there's anything else. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. I'll try my best to answer for you. If I can't, I'll try to figure it out and get back with you. Thanks, guys, and I'll post some more riding videos later. See y'all.